Hello. Um, it's been years and years and years and years, and yeah. I'm supposed to be writing. Um, I got invited to contribute a piece to a lit mag that my friend is guest editing the next issue. Um, so the theme is like eco horror, so she invited me to write a piece regarding that theme, and obviously I said yes because I don't know, like weird plants and horror and creepy shit is like right up my alley, and I would love to write something like that, but it's due at the end of the month, and I started working on it today. Um, I like kind of have the idea, the characters, the general vibe, and the plot points down. But then I started to actually write it, and then I started to get anxiety about it. So now, instead of writing it, I am here on Photo Booth, and I just want to like talk about some books that I've read recently, to put off actually writing. Yeah. So, one book that I recently finished is The Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. This is my first Lispector book. Yeah, I actually started reading this like a few months ago. I downloaded a sample onto my Kindle, and I think I read like the first 10 or 15 pages of it, and I was like kind of not feeling it, so I stopped reading. Um, But then, like a few weeks ago, I was in community bookstore in Park Slope and saw this like gorgeous reissue of the book. So I like had to buy it because it's so pretty. And yeah, I read it and I really, really liked it. Like it's such a strange book. The Spectre's writing is like so interior, and very like erratic and meandering. Um, I don't know, like I don't even really know how to speak about this book because it's just so like nothing in particular, nothing particularly special happens. It is quite meta, like it follows a male character who's a writer, trying to write this story about this fictional girl that he comes up with. Her name is Makeba. Um, and Makeba's life is like very mundane and like nothing really special happens to her, except I think the most interesting part of the book um, comes from when you're kind of brought into the mental process of the the writer trying to come up with the story of Makeba and like him going back and forth about how to like continue her story, um and his thought process about like where he wants her, what he wants her ending, the ending of her story to be like. um but yeah, it's like such a weird book. I really liked it. Like, it's just a vibe. I don't really know how to talk about it, honestly. Like, there's a lot of sentences that I marked down, because they're just so, like, interesting. I don't know. I think Clarice is a really, really special writer. Um, I don't know. I think I probably did a really bad job about explaining what, like, like what this book is about and like what I even liked about it, but um yes, very good, and I can see why she's such like an enduring um like influence on the literary canon. very good. So another book that I finished recently is Mungo by Douglas Stuart. It actually took me quite a long time to finish this book. Normally, like, I don't know, I feel like I read things pretty quickly, but it took me a while to kind of like get into the rhythm of the story. I think it's because the author is, I'm assuming, Scottish, and the story is set in like 1980s Scotland, and all of the characters talk in this like very specific urban like Scottish dialect. So I think I was just having a hard time like just understanding what these people were saying to each other. So yeah, I think it just took me a bit to like get used to it. But I think once I got over that hump, I started to really, really enjoy this book. Yeah, it's just like this, it's just a gorgeous coming of age queer novel about this like young teenage boy growing up in, I would say, like a rougher part of um, the city that he lives in, and it just follows him living his life and like growing up and coming to terms with his queerness and like dealing with his dysfunctional family. His mom is like this kind of like deadbeat alcoholic who is neglectful, and his brother is pretty violent and is involved in gangs. And there's like a really lovely queer romance between him and this boy named James. Lots of really, really sad things happen in this book, and I don't know, like, lots of also really lovely moments too, but yeah, definitely trigger warning for like sexual assault and domestic abuse and all of that. Yeah, it gets pretty intense. But yeah, I think I was really, I picked up this book really wanting it to like hit me hard emotionally. Like I wanted to like weep and like break down, because I think like reading the synopsis, like it checks all the boxes of like a book that would do that to me. Like, you know, coming of age, like teenage angst, queer romance, um, like just complicated family dynamics, like all this stuff. But it never really reached that emotional apex for me. I think it's because it took me such a long time to finish this book for the reason that I said before. So I read it like kind of in chunks. So I feel like if I had read this book like all in one go, like without breaks in between, it probably would have hit me harder emotionally. Um, but still, like there's still so many moments in this book where I was like, oh my god, like how much more does Mungo have to suffer? Like, just let him be happy. Um, but yeah, like gorgeous prose, just like a really, really beautiful um, literary fiction with just sweet, sweet main character. Yeah. Oh my god, I literally look like Lord Farquaad. This is like not okay. I don't know what's happening. This is what happens when I don't style my hair. I literally look like a fucking mushroom. Like, what is going on? But, okay. Another book is Boulder by Eva Baltasar. A little novel. Actually, um, my friend Benjamin Journal on YouTube, lent me the book. So thank you, Ben. But what a book. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's just a very intense novel following this character named Boulder who when we start off, she's like working as a cook on like a ship, and she's this very like untethered character who just wants to be free and like have no obligations or like responsibilities, I guess, in life. And she just finds joy in just being alone and going wherever the wind takes her, basically. But then she ends up meeting this woman, and they fall in love, and they end up having a child. And it's about like her relationship to motherhood and how it's not something that she actually really wants. But yeah, it's just the writing is just so cutting, and I think the main character is just this very like very like sealed off, I would say, like from others. Like she's very like a lone wolf type, and just like this has like such a spirit of a drifter, but is kind of forced into this domestic situation that she's found herself in. And she like has love for her partner and for her child, but I think like in the book she's really battling with like, you know, her connection to these people and this child that she cares about, but also like her overwhelming desire to like be free and to just um leave the situation, I guess. um yeah, I found it to be, I read it like in all one go. It was just a very like electrifying book and pretty radical, like a very, I would say, like queer, like feminist novel. um but yeah, I loved it. Like I think something about the characters, like kind of like allergy to commitment and like um vulnerability, like kind of spoke to me in some way. um I don't know, like she felt like a very like there was like an emptiness at the heart of her, and I feel like sometimes I can also relate to that. So I think, yeah, this book was really impactful to me. Yeah, so thank you, Ben, for letting me borrow. Definitely like one of the standouts that I've read recently. So the last book I'll talk about is um, Sula by Toni Morrison. I don't have the book with me because I actually let a friend borrow it, but holy shit. Like, what can I say about this book? It was incredible. Um, just like, this is the first Toni Morrison book that I've read since like my required reading in high school. I think like in high school, I had to read like Beloved in like my junior year, like AP Lit class or something. I don't really remember what I thought about that book at all, actually. Um, Probably I didn't like it because I had bad taste back then. Um, but oh my god, Sula, like I just don't understand how people can write like this. Like I think Toni Morrison's writing is just like the way she crafts her stories um is just crazy to me. Like there are certain like passages in that book where I was reading it and I just like chills, like full body chills. Like the way that she's able to speak to like the depth and the heart of like a human experience, like with such clarity um and such specificity, but at the same time, like the way she writes is not pretentious at all. Like the language is so accessible, but she just is able to wield it so well. Like I don't know, like I was really shook by just the craft that was the craft of writing that she has mastered in this book. Yeah, and also it's a very like I think um progressive novel. I think even like especially when back when it was published. I think maybe I'm not really sure when, but maybe it was like in the 80s or 90s. But yeah, like one of the characters, Sula, is like this very like actually kind of reminds me of the main character in Boulder, which in the book that I just talked about, but she's very like sexually liberated and just like doesn't conform to like societal notions of how a woman should be, and like the entire town that she lives in kind of like views her in this very like negative way, to the point where people begin to think that she's like a witch or like has like supernatural powers, or is like possessed by like a demon or like Satan or something. um but like, and the decisions that she makes, and the way that she treats people is like very like, I wouldn't say that she's a good person, but I also can like understand her deeply. And I think beyond like the characterization, I think also just like the story elements are amazing too. Like it's a very specific story about these two childhood best friends, two girls who grew up together, and how they drift apart and come back together, and certain betrayals that happen that like push their relationship in different directions. But like the town that it's set in is so like surreal and beautifully written, but also feels so steeped in history and in black culture. And there's also like this magical I cannot speak what is happening. This magical realism element um around certain like standout characters in this town, and these like events that circle back, and like I don't know, I just, as someone who is trying to become a better writer, like I think this book, I was just kind of like, I read books like this and I'm like, holy shit, like why, how, and like how can I ever be as good as this person? Like Toni Morrison, like holy shit. She is a goat for a reason. But yeah, Sula, incredible. Maybe like mm, I wanted to say like the best book that I've read this year, but also I don't know, like I read My Work this year and The Employees and like Autobiography Red and like other stuff. So I don't know, it's definitely up there, like a masterpiece, I would say. 5 stars. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end my recent book roundup here. Although I have read other things, like I wanted to talk about My Death by Lisa Tuttle, which I really like too, but I'll probably do that in another video. Yeah, currently I am reading um Another Country by James Baldwin, which I'm liking so far. I'm like a fourth of the way through, and then also uh, um Coexistence by Billy Ray Belcourt. which Benjamin Journal on YouTube. You guys should follow his channel. Lent to me as well. And I'm actually really excited to read this. I haven't started yet because I've been wanting to read more literature from indigenous voices because I feel like that's just something that I haven't really explored yet. But yeah, I don't know. That's all. I feel like I haven't really been reading as much as I normally do in the past month or so because I've been really busy with just like passion projects. I was like shooting a short film a few weeks ago and working on writing some other pieces and whatever, so I feel like I've kind of not really been in my reading um mindset, but I think recently since finishing Sula specifically, I'm like, fuck, books are fucking cool. um so I'm reading more. Yeah, their books are back on the roster. But thank you guys for watching to my like 2 subscribers. I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you're reading recently, what you're enjoying. Anything you guys think that I should check out, please let me know. And I hope you guys have a lovely week. Bye bye.